Hey, folks, we're live. Awesome to see you. Sorry, we're chewing. Usually takes a little bit. Sorry, we're chewing. Sorry, I'm chewing. It usually takes a little bit longer to actually go live. I thought I had the time to nosh a little bit more here. Just adjusting my windows. And oops. I'm gonna put my post, and I have my post pre-written. I just have to copy and paste it this time. I'm all grown up because once again, my producer isn't here. There we go. Eva and Jill are at the dentist, and Eva is hopefully getting her spreader. I think there's a different word for it, but it's like on the roof of her mouth, and it is keeping her mouth wider, so that all of her teeth fit, and it gives her a lot of headaches and neck aches and stuff like that. So it would be super nice if it wasn't there anymore. So that's the hope. My day today has been just all ads all the time. Sorry, I'm actually in the middle of talking with someone about their ads. Just a second. Just had someone I'm working with who is working with a marketer on a different platform, and they want to use some Facebook ads to test out some theories, which is cool. But they're testing at a very high daily spend, so I'm being super attentive because I care a lot about the money of the people that I work with, right? Like I do my best to treat it like it's my own money, and like it's my own money, and like I don't have a lot of money because I'm, I do well enough that I don't have to worry as much as like some of our clients do about their money. And I try to like think of it as like, hey, Mallory, imagine yourself 7 or 8 years ago. treat their money like that. It's kind of wild actually along those lines. Hey Delta, oh, and hi Dharma too, and everybody else who's here. So audiobooks are always a thing, right? They're like a perennial topic. There's always something different to talk about with audiobooks. And I am now 27 days away from the expiration of my first audiobook that I did with Tantor, which is kind of weird, right? Like you signed these 7-year contracts for audio and you're just like, yeah, at some point in the future, this thing will expire and I'll need to think about that. And I'm now at that point, right? I'm like, this thing is expired and will expire, and I'll decide, do I want to keep it with Tantor? Do I want to re-narrate everything? If I had the money at that time in the past to narrate them all myself, I would have made significantly more money in the short term. But sorry, Jill just said hi. Hi, honey. Not in the short term, I guess. In the long term, I should say, I would have made more money in the long term. But at this point, the books have been out for 7 years. So many people have listened to them. Is it worth it for me to pay the money to get them re-narrated, only to just have like a smattering of readers still coming into this series that is now, 12 years old? I don't know what the best plan is. Although I do plan at some point to take all of my books and repackage them, because I have 120 some odd books, repackage them into chronological omnibuses and re-release them. And at that point, that sort of new release juice and all that could actually make it worth it to redo the audiobook. So that's something I'm considering. However, with Tantor, one of the cool things is that, at least the contract I have, is that when the contract goes past 7 years, it just sort of like continues on until I write them and say, I want to cancel the contract, and they have 60 days. So I can kind of wait a bit. I can wait until, the entire series falls out, which will take another 3 years, I think. Maybe 4, because this series is broken in 2. Plus there's a prequel series. So, I think it's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for more of the books to fall to contract, give some thought to my whole re-release system plan that I have going on, and then if I do that, then I'll probably get them re-narrated at that point. But it's a really interesting, it's an interesting thing to think about. The fact, like, I've not yet been in this place. Well, I've gotten this place with a set of ebooks as well, because I did some ebooks hybrid with a publisher, and the sales got low enough that I could reclaim the series. If you ever go hybrid with a publisher, make sure there's a clause in there that if the sales drop below a certain threshold, you get the series back. And make sure that threshold is like something that they can't gain. Like some places will do just a little bit of advertising to drive the books up over a threshold, and you can maybe you could say like minus the ad spend or something like that. I don't know. That might take a lawyer to figure out, but just be aware of that is a clause you can get put in there, a sales threshold, a revenue threshold. I would probably make it a revenue threshold, because if it's a sales threshold, like volume of sales, they could just lower the price to 99 cents, do one email blast, and hold on to your series. So I would make it like a revenue, say a royalty threshold to yourself, actually, that they have to meet, or you get the series back. Hey, honey, so did Eva get her expander out? That's what's called, expander, not spreader. We weren't sure if that's what was happening today, so I hope it was. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. Something else I'm struggling with is wild things like trademark maintenance. 5 years ago, I filed for trademarks for my pen name and for my universe name, MD Cooper and Aeon 14, and you have to maintain those. So the 5-year, 6-year, yeah. So before the 6th year starts, you have to file a thing saying, "Hey, I'm still using this," and then pay a fee. And I used the same company that I first registered the trademarks with to do it, and yeah, not that. Oh, plus new wire. Oh, that sucks. But probably still better, than having wire and spreader expander. Hey, I can't remember if Pig Monster is Chad or the Van, because you guys all use different names in different places. But anyway, yeah. So it's just kind of interesting that like these things that, like, back when I first said them, I'm like, oh, I'm just like starting out. Like back then, I was like, I'm just like actually becoming like a noteworthy author of some sort, and the idea that, like, I was like, that stuff is so far in the future, and now I'm like dealing with like the maintenance of stuff I set up like, almost a decade ago. It's kind of wild, actually. Let's see. Okay, Pig Monster's the Van. All right, so wow, Ella, this is not a specific update. We'll take all we can do to improve our read through. Besides just continue to write the next book and doing my best to improve it. What do you suggest for going back? Do you suggest going back, revising that first book one? I have good reviews on it, but read through is low. What are some strategies for improving that? Or do you think I should just move on? It's breaking my heart, see great reviews on later books, but barely even get some. That is an issue. I'll leave this up a little bit so anybody who didn't read it breakneck speed like me can soak that in. That's a tricky thing with long series, right? Like there's a bit of a sweet spot with series, and it's a little bit different for every series, and it really has to do with your read through. Like at a certain point, you're like, I'm making less money from these releases than I would from a new book in a new series, because hardly anyone's making it this far in the series. Now, when you say, the question really, when read through being low is very subjective. So I would need a number to go along with your read through. I'll give you what I think are decent numbers, and you should calculate your KU read through and your sales sell through separately, because they are vastly different numbers. Sales sell through from a book 1 to book 2, like a 40% is good. It used to be that like 50 to 60% was good, but there's just so many books out there that if you're getting in sales 40% of people that buy book 1 going on to buy book 2, you're doing pretty good. If you're down under 30, you got problems. You need to fix them. From a KU standpoint, 50 to 60, maybe even 70 is kind of still where you want to be in that read through from book 1 to book 2. So if you're in those numbers, then maybe you're doing all right, and you're just sort of dealing with the general fatigue that does happen at the end of a long series. However, if it's lower than that, then really, I mean, to be honest, well, it depends on what you're doing. what kind of stuff you're writing. So I'll give a couple of examples of that. But first, like my first book that I wrote ends in a cliffhanger. And like not a cliffhanger, not like I resolve the main plot of the book. So it does what it says on the tin, kind of thing. But then I have an epilogue that is a jump into the future and shit's going sideways. Some people like I don't like to me a cliffhanger is like when you're watching like a 1950s show and they only take you halfway through the story and Timmy's hanging off the cliff, hence the name cliffhanger actually. But there was no resolution of any of the plot line. It was still building up. And then the part two completes that build up. To me, that's a cliffhanger. But if you resolve the main arc and then introduce some sort of like conflict to pull people into the next book, to me, that's not a cliffhanger. That's called a good hook or an open loop, depending on how big it is. But I had that scene in there where the character wakes up out of stasis sleep and everything's going to hell in a handbasket. And she's like, oh, fuck. And then the then curtains, and people would complain about that. And so I took it out and my read through dropped by 10%. So I put that back in. Like you complain about all you want, folks, but clearly it's making you buy the next book. And that's how the books exist, right? Like they don't exist unless you buy the next book. So, it depends what you're writing. Like if you're writing a linear series where you're following the same group of characters, then you basically have to introduce the next conflict at the end of each book. Now maybe that might be difficult because you're like, well, crap, the characters discover the next conflict in book two. I can't reveal at the end of book one, but maybe you could do something like the character, like you go to the villain's POV at the end of book one and plant the seeds of their next dastardly deed, or something like that. Or if it's a romance, then you probably need to intro the next couple, book two's couple, more in book one, and see if you can do that. Or think like, is there something unlikable about this couple that is fixed in book two? Like the guy has some sort of like terrible feature that the woman, helps him fix, is one of the things that often gets done. Or you think it's a character flaw, but then you realize it's a strength, or who knows what it could be. But in book one, that's not apparent. You need to foreshadow that in book one a little bit more. So that's what I would recommend there. But I wouldn't put a serious amount of effort into it. Like, don't write more than 10,000 words is your absolute upper limit. I would try to keep any changes you make to that book one under like 5K, because it's too easy for us authors to kind of over engineer our older stuff, go back into them, and that's generally we stand just a good chance of breaking it, if not anything else. My birthday gift wrapping bows arrived tomorrow. I don't know who said that, but it's Jill that said that. All right. Do you recommend trademarking your name in the series? You can't trademark your real name, but you can trademark a pen name. I didn't trademark my series. I trademarked my universe name. So I brought from book one. I guess I had I had lofty goals back in 2012. But I wrote an Aeon 14 novel on my very first cover. Because I knew what my universe was going to be called at book one. I had that all planned out, and luckily it turned into a thing. So I trademarked Aeon 14, which is my universe name, which would be like trademarking Star Trek, or something like that. I wouldn't trademark an individual series name. It's not cheap to do it, and I don't think it really would be worth it. What you're really trying to do is protect your overall brand. And so if you have a pen name, you can trademark that, but you can't actually trademark your real name, which is interesting. Bruce is just Bruce. You are right. All right, planting seeds for greatness. Yeah, I was pretty sure that's what it was, but then I had this momentary brain fart. All right. Ooh, 20% from 1 to 2 sell through and KU. Oh dear. Yeah, that is low. You've got something at the end of book one that is not sucking people in. Your reviews might hint to you what that is, to be honest. Or maybe the reviews of book two. Like maybe the people in book two are like, I didn't expect this to be good because of XYZ, but it was. Like maybe that can give you some insight too. I would not poll your reader group or your email list because they're hardcore fans and they're not going to give you good answers. The people that can give you the best answers aren't in your reader group or your email list or anything like that. So it's the reviews on book one and book two that might give you that bit of insight. There is also a lower average rate if book one is 99 cents. I would probably shave 10% off my prior numbers if book one is 99 cents. I recommend 99 cent. I rarely recommend a 99 cent book one anymore, so sometimes I forget that people do that. And if your book one is free, forget about it. Like, it's like 1% is what you're going to get. I do like my plot hooks. I like them a lot. These are my readers, by the way. My readers, when I stream on YouTube as well, my readers show up. So it's always nice to have them hanging out here too. I do leave them hanging a lot. In fact, there's some things they've been hanging on for years now at this point. I'm pretty sure there's a lynch mob forming. Mm-hmm. That's how it's done, Delta, exactly. Yes, yeah, keep them short and vague. For sure. I wonder if you could, Chad. See, the thing is, to trademark something, you have to be doing commerce using that name. So you would need to make like the Chad product and put up on Etsy or something like that, and then sell one. Oh dear, yeah, I figured you guys would be. Although Chad, you know more than anyone else about my books. Chad has the most knowledge. Actually, no, Tim has it too. I think Tim and Chad are the only two. Sorry, you guys can't. Oh, you can. Most of you can see this because it's Chad's on Facebook and Tim is on YouTube. But yeah, where was I going with this? But yeah, there's a special a bit of story that only people who do something special can find out. And one of the easiest ways to do it is buy me a cat suit, which Chad did. Well, actually, Tim, Chad is here. You guys are just on different platforms. Yes, that's a good way to put it. We don't need sleep. We need answers. I like that a lot. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful. I don't know if I know the name of the person who said this. Oh, this is Ella. Oh, and you write steamy sports romance. It's in your name. So probably, I would guess there's probably a couple introduction issue, or you've made usually it's the guy, book two's guy, too unlikable in book one, or you didn't introduce him at all. It's one of those two things. So pardon me. I'm starving, and so I'm eating trail mix, which is probably the worst thing. Oh no, I could be eating beef jerky. That'd be far worse. Or soup and be slurping this whole time. So anyway, what I wanted to chat about here today is it's all about the audience. We of course, as you guys all know, we run Facebook ads for a lot of authors. We do consulting for Facebook ads with a lot of authors. Myself and my team, we work with at least 100 unique authors every month. Sometimes more, maybe sometimes a little bit less, but usually around 100 altogether. Some months if I'm running webinars or larger classes, it could be 200 to 300 authors. And we see a lot of trends and we see a lot of things going on. And one of the things I've been seeing a lot lately is people coming to me and saying, I've been trying all of the super broad targeting stuff run by other folks recommend, and it's costing me a fortune. I can't afford it anymore. I need something that works and works faster. Now, I do caution those folks and say, like, there's nothing that's fast per se, but there are things that are either a little bit faster or the same speed and cost you a lot less money. I think that the way that I do ads can do that. But, and that comes down to targeting. There's this big push by Facebook, and some people are kind of falling for it, I would say. I don't like saying, I don't know if I want to say falling for it. Some people are being convinced by Facebook and other people that Facebook is better at figuring out who your audience is than it really is. The thing that the new targeting stuff that's in Facebook, doesn't actually let you force pick your age groups and your gender. In fact, I'm going to share my screen and just show this because I feel like this is becoming incredibly important for people to know about and to understand how to do properly. I was just checking the time because, as you all know, I can yammer. All right, the screen's gonna look weird because I'm actually only running one ad in this account, but actually running a lot of ads. They're all just under one campaign because every ad I'm doing right now, I'm testing direct sales. It's my shtick at the moment. All right, and see if I do this, does it embigger a little bit? No, it actually just covers stuff up. So we'll do it this way. Okay, so first things first, never pick recommended settings. So I went to create a campaign, I picked traffic, and this is the next screen I'm presented with. Never pick recommended settings. It's terrible. It removes a lot of options from ads, and they almost never generate good results. Always pick manual setup. You know what to do better than Facebook does, quite honestly. And it's also partially because, like, if we were selling something that like everybody in the world was buying, like, I don't know, a toothbrush, recommended settings, no problem. We are not selling toothbrushes. We're selling books. And you might think like, well, everybody buys books, right? Like that's how Facebook thinks of it. Everybody buys books. And we're like, no, bitch, my book's different. The bitch being Facebook. All right, so always pick manual. Then next in here, oh yeah, this page just always don't do advantage budget campaign. It adds more steps and more trusting Facebook to magically do the right thing. Advantage campaign budget is where you can create many ad sets inside of a campaign, and then Facebook can kind of dynamically allocate spend. That works great if you're doing direct sales and you're managing tons of ad sets. That feature exists for like a marketing manager who's got like 150 ad sets inside of a campaign and needs to make a budget change. And rather than going in and like finessing 47 ad set spends, they can just change their advantage budget limit and go from there. This is not a setting for anybody who's running ads at a smaller scale. It can only hurt you, basically. It can't help you. It can only hurt you. All right. So I always get this thing where Facebook's always trying to get me to run messaging ads. Like it's by default. It's not everybody's default. Different accounts have different defaults, I found. For me, they've been at this for like years now, trying to get me to do that. Again, I am a dynamic creative person. I highly recommend this, but we're not talking about that right now. But the thing that you got to do, the place where the problem lives is here. If you go in here to an ad set and you see your audience stuff broken into two boxes, you're on the new system that does not work. The top box here are the things it will respect. And that is a minimum age. I think your maximum choice is 25, and your country. And then you can exclude some custom audiences, like you could exclude people who like your page or something like that. And that's it. It will respect those options. Anything that you put down in here, if you pick like a different age range, you pick gender, you put in detailed targeting like romance novels. I can spell novels. Whatever you put in here, Facebook may give it some consideration, but you wouldn't believe how many people I've worked with who have gone and picked something like 40 to 65 plus women romance novels, only to have easily half and sometimes much more than half of their ads show to men under 50, right? Like, sure, some of them buy romance, but not that many. You're much more likely to sell your romance novel to someone in your desired age range who's a woman than someone outside your desired age range who's a man. Like, I shouldn't even have to say that, right? So if you define your audience and you see these two boxes, you need to click this switch to original audience options. And these mother effers at Facebook are here to like make your life really difficult. And their default blue click me option is the one that will keep everything just the way it is. You need to click the gray use original audience, and then it will load you up with the original audience section. And they spend a lot of time trying to get you to use this new system. Now, I actually think the reason why Facebook is doing this is because of legal issues. Recently, Facebook lost a court case in California where they were determined to be using discriminatory tactics by allowing people to target age and gender in ads, because this woman was upset that she wasn't being served any ads for a certain product. And so I think what Facebook is trying to do is trying to say, like, no, we show ads to everyone, and we use our AI to make it better. And I'm kind of like, I'm not sure that your AI deciding who to show the ads to is much different than letting the client do it, but I feel like at the end of the day, you're still making some decisions about who you show the ad to, which is just, I'm actually really pissed at the courts for making that decision because that's stupid. Like, demographics matter when it comes to advertising. Because if they were to take away the ability to do any demographical targeting on ads, that only hurts the little guy or gal or whichever gender, little peeps, the little folks, because Toyota can afford to run their ads and show them to everyone on the planet. Whatever, they don't care. If they can blanket the entire world with ads, all the better. Like, the big companies are the only ones that could afford to show their ads to everyone. All the little people, boom, we can't do it anymore. We go back to the days of network nationwide broadcast television, where you only the biggest brands can afford to advertise. So I'm pretty pissed about that decision, because all that does is hurt smaller advertisers. But be that as it may, make sure that your audience targeting is the big box here with everything all in one shot. And don't use the new one, because it will show your ad to people that you do not want it to show to. And you'll be able to tell by just clicking the little graph thing here in the upper left. And it won't show anything right now because there's nothing in here, but you'll see like age ranges and genders you didn't pick and stuff like that in there. One last thing while we're in here, if you guys just want some good tips, is down here under placements. I'm a very big proponent of showing your ads across as many placements as you can, but there are 3 you should remove. So you got to mouse over Advantage Plus placements here to get the little edit to appear. Yours might look differently. You might like flail around in there a bit because this has a lot of different ways. Change it from Advantage Plus to manual placements. Go into feeds and turn off Facebook Marketplace. Then go into in-stream ads for videos and reels and turn off Facebook in-stream videos. And then go down here into reward videos and turn that off. These 2 settings, if you turn them off, it stops Facebook from making those damn automatic videos it makes. Like, if you upload a bunch of images, you'll see like it makes a video and it's showing that all the time. And the video is just like a bad slideshow of your images. Turning these 2 off causes it not to do that. And Marketplace just is weird. It doesn't seem to convert well. And we've also had scenarios where suddenly Facebook just starts showing people's ads exclusively on Marketplace. So I turned those off too. All right, there you go, folks. There's some fun little tips for Facebook ad targeting. And so this was like an object view of why I don't think super broad targeting works. Because the whole premise behind super broad targeting is that Facebook is very good at figuring out who should see your ads now. And I'm thinking to myself, it's an ad with man chest. It says romance all over it. And they're showing it to dudes in the wrong age range. And it's not working. It's not converting. It's not selling shit, right? So like, how do we think then that super broad targeting is going to work if like a plain as the nose on your face kind of ad is being shown to the wrong person? Clearly their AI cannot look at an ad and tell who to show it to. They cannot do it because their AIs are built on the same premise as the rest of their system, and that is socioeconomic demographics are what drives most of their stuff. Because when you're talking about Land Rover, you're talking about Porsche, you're talking about house sales, talking about LG TVs and Samsung washing machines, buying power and income and where you live, matters more than interests. And that's how they figure out all their automatic targeting. That stuff probably works great for a lot of bigger companies, but it doesn't work well for us. So keep that in mind with that targeting stuff. You go ahead and try some really broad targeting. I would recommend at least narrow down by readers. Like put in fiction books and novels in that interest section, so at least you're focused in on readers. But don't fall for the super wide targeting thing. Quite honestly, just it's too expensive, and you can get better results not doing it. Quite honestly. All right. Well, thank you, Delta. Now that my rant is over, I'm back. Catching up on comments for the last 10 minutes. Well, thanks, Kelly. Have a fabulous week. I love your picture, by the way. It is still a cat suit. I love it. Yes, this is exactly right. Was it life insurance? Yes, that's right. It was life insurance. Yeah, there is that too. Not sure who said this. Oops, this one, but I guess I am. Sometimes I get frustrated. the advice that has been given out by, I'm going to drop something, Steve Holmes, no, Matt Holmes, someone Holmes, Steve Higgs, Matt Holmes. There's like 3 or 4 people who are giving out this like super broad targeting advice. At this point, they've cost authors I know over 6 figures with ads that do not work and have not produced results. It's just funneling money into Facebook at this point. And I'm sick and tired of seeing it. It's bad advice. It doesn't work well enough. It certainly doesn't work at the lower end. And it only works really in certain genres too, when you can when you have mass broad appeal across a wide group of people. But even then, I can always make a targeted ad that outperforms one of those things anyway. So yeah, I'm getting tired of it. I'm guessing this is Jill. Yeah, Matt Holmes. Okay, I got it right. I don't want to name names. And I don't know. Steve Higgs is a charming guy. I think that's part of the problem, to be honest. So sorry, Steve, if you're watching this, but I've already told you this in person that I completely disagree with your methods. So I am not saying anything behind your back. I haven't said to your face. Matt Holmes, I've not met you, but if I met you, I will say this to your face as well. You are wasting people's money. Sorry. Anywho, that's me. That's me getting spicy. I love it. So the next thing that I want to chat about, sort of along these lines, is who is your audience, right? Who are you trying to show ads to? And one of the traps that I see authors fall into a lot is when they're trying, they're like, man, I need to sell more books. I feel like I'm stagnating. And I say, who's your audience? And they describe their existing super fans to me. And while that is useful, sometimes you need to think to yourself, are these the only people that will like my book? Or could it appeal to more people? And do I only have these people? Wow, I sound like Tucker Carlson there. Dear God, stop that. The way he does those questions. All right. But you have to think to yourself, is the current makeup of your readership based on how you've advertised and promoted in the past? Because if you've always advertised a certain angle instead of tropes and stuff like that, and the certain visual elements about your story, then you're going to capture a specific group of people. And you're like, wow, I can't seem to getting more people. Maybe because your book can be marketed in other ways with different types of tropes, genres, visual appeal, storytelling elements being highlighted that will capture other people. And that's the thing you need to think about. You need to think about, is my audience actually a lot bigger than I thought it was? And how do I reach these other people who might also enjoy reading my book? And one of the ways you can do that is very strategically with your following books. So my first books follow, they're military science fiction, but they follow the people, mostly the people who are on the starships and they're fighting in space stations, and they have more of a much more elevated cerebral situation. Because my very first book is a colony ship leaving the Sol system. And at this point, the Sol system has 3 trillion humans living in it, and 2 million of them are on this colony ship. Well, it's going to be the creme de la creme, right? You're going to have the absolute best people leaving on this colony ship. So you're not, and they're going to have the most money because the people funding the mission have endless pockets, basically. So they're not scrappy. They're not having to scrounge. They're having to use their wits, yes, but they have unlimited resources at their disposal. And so that tells a certain type of story with a certain type of characters. And some people they don't want to read that. They want to read boots on the ground, people getting dirty, shitty situations where they're having to make do with far less than what they need. And how are they going to pull through and survive? That's a different type of reader for science fiction, both military science fiction, but they read different things. So I deliberately wrote stories. I mean, I wrote stories I wanted to write, but I really thought about it a lot. There's this reader. I love reading Hammers, Slammers and stuff like that. For those of you who've read that sort of thing, I love those stories. They're very different from the stories I've written. I want to write stories like that too and grab those readers and bring them in. The readers where if I said the Marines always come in over water, they're like oorah kind of thing. It's a good thing I didn't say hoo-ah, right? I would have been slaughtered. And that would have been, those sorts of things are important to that readership. So I crafted stories and made covers and blurbs and everything that would would reach those readers, and I pulled them into the fold, and then they would read my other things as well. So that's one way of doing it. But at the same time, like my main series also does have a lot of that boots on the ground, gritty combat kind of stuff to it. And I could have retooled my ads and my focus around that to then capture that kind of reader. And that's the kind of thing you can do. You can think to yourself, like, I have a lot of tropes in here and whatnot. What can I do? And one of the best ways to do that is to, and this sounds terrible, you're going to be like, dear God, Mal, what are you doing? But I'm doing this right now for an author who I'm making a marketing plan for, like a very detailed one. I'm doing like a whole branding board, and we're doing cover redesigns and blurb rewrites and everything. I'm going through in the 5 major subgenres that his book fits in, and I'm reading every blurb and some of the reviews from every book in the top 100 across 5 of these things. So considering that there's some overlap, I'm probably reading 300 blurbs, and examining their covers and analyzing all sorts of things. And I'm realizing, like, hey, I'm seeing this particular trope being used, or this particular setting element or character background or something like that is super common. And all of these books are selling well and have rave reviews. My customer's book also has this same thing in it. I can highlight that. I can position the story to highlight that sort of thing and to share that with the reader. And that's what you got to do. So you might actually need to sit there and say, like, I have to go and read all of these books. Not all the books. I'll read the information for all these books, covers, blurbs, titles, top reviews. What are readers resonating with, and do I have that? Can I latch onto that? And then how did the author communicate this information to these readers? What are they doing on their cover and their blurb that is sharing this information, so I can do the same thing with mine? And that's a big thing that you need to do. And to be honest, you need to do it every so often, because the trends shift enough that your cover could be saying something different than it used to. So there's that bit of truth bomb too. You do sound like an outlier. When you say broad, how broad was your targeting, Dharma? I'm definitely curious about that. I'd love to actually see that ad. It is, I mean, I've probably encountered 10 ads at this point where I looked at them and they were doing super broad targeting. And I'm like, we should leave this on. Like I was like, this ad is working. It's meeting what I would consider to be acceptable and sometimes great performance results. So the Dharma having that would be the 11th. I'm not actually really keeping hard track, but they do exist. But in every instance, excepting this one, obviously, I've been able to make a targeted ad that works better. But again, that's also, I do have a lot more experience and like broad exposure than a lot of other people do. So it may be that someone else it might be. I shouldn't say that my experiences are universal, because obviously I have unique experiences and sort of like a special, almost privilege when it comes to working with ads, right? Because of the number of them I've worked with. But that being said, I still think that niche targeting. But like I said, if you're going to do broad targeting, just narrow down by readers. Thanks, Alexa. I didn't think I said the word Alexa, but she's talking about Target right now, the store. Alexa, stop. She was just going on telling about the Target Corporation. All right. And that's pretty cool. I'm really glad it's working for you, Dharma, because I know you've struggled with like, not struggled, but you've been working hard at getting Facebook ads to work for you. So I'm really glad that's working for you. That's cool, Monique. What kind of freebie are you doing? That's another great thing to do too, by the way. Draw people in with a good reader magnet. Not too long, 10, maybe 15, 17,000 words, because what you really want to do with a reader magnet is you want to show people in about an hour that you're a good author and you can tell a story with a beginning, middle, and an end. And it has to have an end. You have to actually have a climax and a resolution in a good reader magnet, because you want to say to people like, hey, look, I gave you that endorphin hit. I gave you them dopamines, them good old dopamines. And I've got more where that came from, right? Like we're basically just dopamine salespeople. That's our whole job. We're just pushing dopamine hits for like really low cost. I feel like we're very reasonable dopamine hit. Like we're not like saying like, hey, we're like a gotcha game on your phone demanding like, 30 bucks for a new character skin. I think we give pretty good dopamine hits for the money. Like the best you can get. Wow, that's cool. What nonfiction do you write, Monique? I feel like I've asked you this before. Oh, yeah, there you go, Dharma. That is a very different scenario. Um, and that's actually something that I think is that's actually, you know what? That's a really important caveat. And sometimes I might not caveat things enough when I say them. Um, Mostly when talking about that sort of like targeting and stuff like that is especially important when you're doing traffic ads because Facebook has no idea which clicks are converting. But when you run a Shopify ad, Facebook knows which clicks are converting and then it knows how to focus in on the right people. So that definitely can work. Um, and if I do see a place where um, broadly targeted ads work, it is in direct sales. They work a lot better, which to their credit, Steve Higgs and Matt Holmes do focus on. They talk a lot about direct sales with their stuff, but it's when people try to apply that to Amazon and other retailer sales that they run into trouble. Yeah, that is also clutch, Dharma. And you're in the genre where you can do that. Thrillers can easily charge $7 or $8 and even $9, sometimes 10. If you're big enough, you can charge whatever you want in thrillers for your books. Whereas a lot of other genres, you cannot go above like $5 without starting to run into problems. Do you do bundles, Dharma? Monique, I don't think I knew that. I feel like I would have remembered if I'd seen that before. That is really cool that you do that. And yeah, that's definitely something where you can tell the nonfiction version of a complete story in 10K words. That is fabulous. Bundles, excellent. I figured you would be, but that's good to see. What's the bundle that you advertise the most, Dharma? Is it like around $20 for 4 books or something like that? I look forward to hearing throughout the year, Monique, how that strategy works for you. I've worked with a number of nonfiction authors doing similar stuff, like ones who are doing tarot and things like that. And that kind of strategy has worked really well for them. And then the great thing too is you generate this library of reusable content that you can use for years to come, right? So that's really awesome. Oh man, wow, that is good, Dharma. 35 for 5 books. That is not a price you could charge in romance. Let me tell you that. But that is awesome that you're getting that, um, especially because you are so niche. So that's really cool. I'm curious who said this. I want you, Mal, to do everything for me. It has kind of been fire, hasn't it? I like don't have the window open to see who said these things. Oh, that's actually who said that. All right. Oh, Jules has been total fire. That makes sense. Absolutely. I guess not everybody can see these, of course, because we're all on different platforms. But there it is. Uh, yeah, bundles do work really well, Monique. Um, they are a great way to get more value. And the thing to think about with bundles is you're getting 100% read through right away. So you can think about that when you're doing your pricing. Like a lot of people might say, like, oh, I've got 6 books, and normally I sell them for $5. I don't know if I want to do a $10 discount to offer a $20 bundle. But what I remind them is that if you've got 6 books at $5 a pop, chances are you're getting 50% read through from book to one to book two. So even if you get 100% read through from book two onward, you're still only making 25 divided by 2 is 1250 plus the initial 5. Because basically you take the value of the books 2 onwards, cut that in half. That symbolizes your 50% read through, and then add on book 1. So 5 books at $5 is 25. I take 50% of that. That gives me 1250. I add on my 5. I'm now at 1750. So at 50% read through and then 100% read through afterwards, which is phenomenal read through, you're actually only making 1750. So $20 is actually still more than you would make under normal read through circumstances. So it's something to think about when you're pricing your bundles. But I mean, if you can get away with 35 for 5 books, like by all means, do that. But don't be afraid to discount or like offer coupons and stuff like that. You might think like, I'm going to sell it for this price, but maybe if people like put stuff in their cart, I'll have an abandoned cart thing that offers them $5 off, and I'm still doing great. Like you can think about that when you're doing all your pricing. Now as an AI in my head, my life would be very different in so many ways, Chad. In so many ways. Oh, that's cool, Monique. Yeah, then bundles would be a really good idea for that. Yep, you're absolutely right. Amazon's royalty structure makes bundles very undesirable. Interesting little bit of history, and then I'm going to have to wrap up. One of the reasons why Amazon lowered the royalty rate to 35% on anything $10 and over, and also capped the selling price of print books, is because of money laundering. What people were doing back in the day is they were putting up like $1,000 book on Amazon with a 70% royalty rate, and then they would money launder that through Amazon. They would buy people would buy this $1,000 book with dirty money, and then the publisher would get 70% royalty, nice clean money sent from Amazon. Looks good, right? Squeaky clean. So, and they were doing the same thing with print books, like selling like $10,000 collector's edition print books and stuff like that, and getting a 60% royalty rate on that with this nice clean money coming from Amazon on the other end. Like they were literally, Amazon was like this massive money laundering system for a lot of very unsavory people. And that's actually why they put all those caps in place to stop that from happening. Oh yeah, that's awesome, Dharma. Then you've got that all set. You're nailing it. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, Dharma writes under her name, the name you see here. So you can look her up and find her stuff. Yeah, I'm bad about getting all the comments up. I apologize for that. And I'm streaming in 2 places on Facebook, my profile and the group. So I stream to 4 different places. So I need to get a lot better at sharing comments. Although I think I read most of them. Is it good enough when I read them, or should I be popping them on screen more often? It really sounds like it, Dharma. Like totally. 750 USD back time we go to the US. Oh, okay, Monique, that makes sense. Where do you live, give or take a bit? You have to be super specific. You're very welcome. Jill and I have been publishing on Amazon, like I mentioned before, since 2012. We were part of Kindle 1.0 and all sorts of crazy stuff. I usually do just answer. Okay, I will get better at putting the thing on screen when I talk about them. Fair enough. This is good. I will get better. Call me out if I'm not doing it. I need to hone this skill, and I will take the feedback. Oh, okay, cool. That's a good deal. So fast. Oh, that was Jill. I saw that one over on Facebook. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap because, as always, I've got I don't have a call to go on until 1:45. It's actually really cool. It's a guy I used to work with back in my software development days, who I asked the most awkward and the funniest question ever. So one day I was doing my work and I discovered that that humans have 3 nipples fairly often, and men are much more likely to have 3 nipples than women. So I walked over to the support department where Chico Pachico was hanging out, and I said to him, "You've seen a lot of men's chests. How often have you seen the 3rd nipple?" I no preamble. I just walked over and said that, and he died laughing. He's gay. I guess that's like an important piece of information. He literally was on the floor. I basically, with that one comment, I probably cost the company like a couple $1,000 because I obliterated productivity in the support department for at least half an hour. It was insane. So yeah, Chandler Bing's nubbin. That's right. Chandler Bing on the 3rd nipple. Totally. So yeah, I'm actually talking with him in 55 minutes because he's written a bunch of books and they're amazing and he's done a really good job. So he wants some help marketing them. So it's kind of cool that he and I are going to get to do some stuff together again. So yeah, that's that. But in the meantime, I have to look at a client's ads because she's seen a bit of a dip, and we got to figure out what that is. If it's just a cost, if it's conversion, what's going on? That's one of the things actually I think has been a big change with Facebook with a lot of their automated targeting that they're doing now. Is things don't seem to work as consistently or for as long as they used to, and that's kind of a pain in the butt where because there's all these things behind the scenes can change a lot more based on parameters we have no knowledge about. Ads can go sideways um, sooner than they used to, and it can be pretty frustrating to get them back on track. That's like my one issue right now that I'm grouchy about with Facebook. Well, it's the one I'm grouchiest about, I should say. But anyway, it has been a slice chatting with everybody here. I hope to see you all again next week, and where I'm sure I'll say more crazy things. That's why you all come, right? You're just like, what is Mal going to like spew today? This is going to be awesome. Um, but I look forward to it, and have yourselves a great day and a fabulous weekend. Ciao.